everyone. Welcome to Kingdom Builder TV. I'm your host, Kelly Meade, and I'm so excited today to be joined by Jordan St Cyr to talk about his brand new album, My Foundation, out everywhere now. Jordan, how are you today?
Kelly, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. I love our chats together.
It's so great to have you on the show again because we talked when your first album came out, and then I had you on our audio show for our Christmas special in 2022, and it's always such a pleasure talking with you.
It is a pleasure talking to you. Anytime we get together and talk about life and faith, I'm in. So,
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this new album, My Foundation, and it certainly does not disappoint. I've been waiting for it for a while. Love these songs, so many great ones on here. And they have definitely found their way into my life when I need the reassurance of God's faithfulness and
yeah,
just the message that these lyrics are bringing.
yeah,
So I know you co-wrote each of these songs,
yeah,
and can you share a little bit of what the process was like for writing them and also choosing which songs to include on the project?
yeah. You know what? I was in a very clear season, having walked out of a very dark one. You know what I mean? We're 5 years into our story with Emery. She's doing really well now, and uh, and so it was just a moment in time for each of these, collaborative songwriting sessions to just reflect on the faithfulness of God. The faith that He built up in me and my wife before Emery was born. All the kids for that matter. Kids will take the life out of you to give you a new one, and Emery did that in her own unique way. And you know what? We just felt like we've crossed through the fire. You know what I mean? And God was so gracious with His presence and His Spirit in those times. And now we've come out with kind of a refined motive, a refined faith. And so, what do we want to say? What do we want to talk about? And I think this album is just one of praise. It's one of celebration. And so that was at the heart of these songwriting sessions. I would come in, I would share my story where we currently are at, and then we'd take it from there. So I would typically bring an idea. I would typically bring, like, My Foundation was a title that Matthew West came up with when we co-wrote that song. But I came in with this idea of the house and the storms it endures and the foundation that it stands upon. And I say this a lot, like when you go through the storms of this life, the house may shake a little. You may lose a few shingles off the roof, right? But the foundation does not move. And when we build our life on Christ, that's what I have found, that this becomes life becomes a proving ground for His faithfulness. And so that has been our experience. We walked through the fire. We went through a storm that we didn't think we'd have to walk through, and we came out the other side um, just solid. We never felt lost. I felt desperate. Um, I felt in at times like a failure as a father. I felt like I couldn't see my way forward and I couldn't lead our family, but I never felt lost. And that's the hope we have in Christ.
Absolutely. And I think as you're saying how, you go through all of these storms in life, and as difficult as they are, it's always amazing to see how God just has his hand on each person involved
That's
and
right.
how he just continues to work through it in his timing and in his perfect way.
Yeah,
And just knowing that he knows the details of everything that's going on.
everything.
And and most of the time it ends up being something that ends up strengthening our relationship with him even more.
That's right.
So, so
That's
yeah, I
right.
just think having these songs and knowing the stories behind them is just so, so special.
Right on.
So, something I have always loved about you and your style is your storytelling, whether it's through the songwriting or on stage during shows when you share in between the songs.
Yeah.
So I feel like with this album, you've really leaned into the storytelling aspect of your songwriting even more, which is just so neat to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple songs in particular that kind of, ping when you say that. My wife would always kind of go around the house, and again, this goes back to our daughter. I think this goes for all our kids for that matter. And she would just say this phrase, God did a good thing. And it's a saying that she would use when, things in kind of our pride and our ego didn't go as we hoped or planned, and particularly our little girl. And now we look at her 5 years into her journey and we're like, you know what, God, I don't always know your intention. I don't know always your plan, but man, you did a good thing with this little girl in our lives. And that inspired the last track called God Did a Good Thing. And it's just all about not knowing necessarily what's ahead, but God does. And I'm so glad that he's writing my story and not me.
Yes, totally. And one other one in particular that came to mind thinking about the storytelling is God Will Make a Way for Us, because I know that's like chronicling your journey a little bit of your move to Tennessee and
Absolutely.
everything else. And I love that one as well.
That one is one of my favorites because it just represents a season for our whole family. You know, we lived in Canada forever. We had this dream of moving to Tennessee. Mainly, I had this dream of moving to Tennessee, and uh, it took a while. It took a very long while for it to come to fruition. And then in February of 2022, we moved from our small little town in Canada all the way to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are literally leaving 6 foot drifts in our driveway of snow, and it is minus 40. Okay. And by the time we got to Nashville a month into that trip, we were wearing shorts, and it was just this crazy, dichotomy, these two completely different worlds. And I often say this, that the new car smell of being in Tennessee and being able to, do music for a living and ministry, it just hasn't worn off. And so I don't know that it ever will, and I pray it doesn't, because I think it just keeps my heart in a place of gratitude.
Yeah, for sure. I know that was a really big change for you guys, so it's great to hear that it's like you've been able to get adjusted well, and I think that it's been a good thing overall for your family and your
Absolutely.
career too. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So another thing that I noticed about the songs on My Foundation is the musical arrangements, because you've got some gospel influence and strings and a little bit of country style in there.
Yeah,
So would you say that what we're hearing on these tracks kind of represents some of your own musical influences that you enjoy?
absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I grew up listening to guys like John Mayer. I grew up listening to guys like Need to Breathe. And I think there's some of those influences in there. I was in a rock band for 6 years. We played in bars, and that whole time I was a worship leader. And so there was this cool kind of parallel journey that I was walking, and God was really just teaching me that He was everywhere. That, you know what I mean? That we're all looking to connect with something greater than ourselves, and He is everywhere. But I think there are some of those rock influences in a couple of the songs, and I think slowly but surely I'm landing on a sound that is unique to me. I think there's glimpses of it in this record, and I mean, I've been writing so much. I think that next record is, again, it's just going to be a progression of hopefully something that is useful and valuable to people that they can use in their lives. So yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving this record, and there's just so many new songs that I'm excited to share.
Well, I can definitely say that having like followed you pretty much since the beginning, ever since Fires came out,
Yeah,
and seeing you grow as an artist these past few years has just been so cool. And
thank you.
seeing how God continues to use you and your story and your music. And I'm so excited for people to hear these songs in particular. And so, what is something that as they get out to more people, what do you hope that the listeners will take away from these songs?
Honestly, I hope that they take away a deeper relationship with Jesus. At the end of the day, I don't want to be in the thought of the conversation. I really hope that these truths are biblical. I hope that they're theologically sound, and and that these songs, can in some ways be a soundtrack to a pursuit of, again, something greater. We know that as Jesus, but not everybody does. And I hope that there are people that don't believe, that maybe would hear this, that would spark something in them that would connect them to their creator. I hope for those that do know him, that it would spark something in them that would um, have them look at their life in a new way, and maybe delve a little deeper and say, you know what? I don't want to just believe in Jesus. I want to be a disciple, a disciple. I want to follow deeply and hard after his heart. That's my hope for me. And I know that there's been music in my life that has done that. And so I think that I feel that those songs in my life gave me permission to then go to the drawing board, write some music and get it out there.
Yeah, it's always incredible to me how God uses music, especially. Like I notice it in my life and a lot of
Yeah.
other people's lives, and it's not always even not always Christian music, but
Yep. Yep.
just music in general because it's such a universal language
The
for
human
us,
experience. That's right. It's built
for
in.
sure. And so yeah, it's just really cool to see how he can bring the right song at the right time into our lives when we need it the most.
That's right.
And I think these definitely had the potential to do that for so many.
Right on. I'm so glad to hear that.
Mhm. And with my foundation being released here just before Father's Day, and knowing how much your family means to you, what
Yeah.
are some things that God has shown you about his character and about yourself through your experience as a father?
Oh man, you know what? I was asked this question a couple weeks ago, and at the end of the day, it's like I'm still so selfish. You know what I mean? Like when I got married, it was very revealing. And I'm like, okay, I got some work to do. And then kids come into play, and you realize, oh, I didn't do that deep work. And I think that's kind of it. Is kids like us and God, they want your attention. They just want you to be with them. It doesn't even matter what you're doing. And I think that's God's heart for us too, is he just wants us to be, and we're so busy like, God, can I have this? God, can we do this? Like, I really want this for my life. God, where should I go? You know? And the thing is all those questions are answered as a byproduct of just being still with God. And so I think um, for us as parents, for me as a father, it's like, can you just be with your kids? It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're like, working on something in the garage, just have them with you. If you're going to, run an errand to the hardware store, just have them with you. That presence just makes them feel seen and wanted. And when you give your kids your yes, I think it changes their lives. It just shows them that you are here for them. Um, and again, we just have to get over ourselves thinking that, we've got to do this and we've got to do this and I don't have time for you. It's like, you do. Just welcome them in and put them in the back seat and go about your day. Just do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that especially, considering with it being Father's Day and all, and how not everyone does have that same experience with a
Yeah,
good and, a faithful earthly father, but
that's right.
we can look to God as our heavenly Father, and it can take some time to really fully like grasp that sort of a relationship with him.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, it's so cool how we can kind of, as you were saying, that is a very similar thing, how to like, we can go to him anytime we want. He will
Yeah,
welcome us in and he wants us to be there with him.
that's
So
right. That's right.
that
My dad grew up without a dad, and so I'm a first generation in our family having a present father. And I see what God has done for my dad in his life. And I'm like, whether you have a good dad, a bad dad, um, a dad that's not present, all these things, um, we're kind of all in the same playing field because even a good dad will not measure up to the heavenly Father that we need. And so I don't want to discount those that don't have one. You know what I mean? That's hard. And I look at my dad's story. My dad tells these stories of like, I never got a bike, growing up. And I'm like, man, that's really hard. But now I look at his life and I look at what he's done for me and the way he is with his grandkids. And I'm like, there is redemption. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, hold on and dig in with Jesus.
yeah, for sure. 100%. Mhm. So looking ahead a little bit, what else do you have coming up this year that you can share that you're excited about?
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited. We've got a bunch of festivals this summer that we're going to be heading out. So obviously, head to the website or Instagram to check out dates. We haven't announced this yet, but I'm going to be doing a headline tour this fall called the My Foundation Tour. And so we are going to announce supporting acts soon and announce dates. But that is something I am super excited about.
Very cool. Absolutely cannot wait to hear more about that when it gets a little bit closer.
Right
So,
on.
yes, want to encourage everyone to visit jordanstcyr.com. Check out the tour dates, check out him on social media, make sure you give him a follow. I will link all of those pages in the description below this video. And also listen to My Foundation everywhere you check out music. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, Jordan. This has been awesome.
Kelly, you are such a pleasure. Anytime, please reach out and we'll do this again soon.